You are now tuned in to Lfod Radio, Live Free or Die. I am your host, Uncle Sam. Tonight, I am joined by A-Ball. What's happening, man?
Yo, man, how you doing?
Pretty good. I'm pretty good.
Word.
All things considered, it's been
All things considered, yeah.
I've gotten a lot of like random phone calls the past few days that have been all positive. So
Mm. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I've been trying to get back into phone calls and staying connected with people, and it really does lift the spirits. I appreciate it.
there's no distance in my socializing. It's just very
Yeah,
safe right now.
yeah. People are saying this is also hard, and I feel like at the same time, I'm like, is it that bad though? Like, I feel like, I mean, like, not everyone's really like, you can't just say everyone's comfortable at their own home, but you know, like, I think with all our technology, like, we're not actually that all that disconnected.
Yeah. From a social point of view, I think it's manageable. But I mean, if you're unable to work and trying to keep a roof over your
That's
head, that
that's the
changes
real
things
problem.
a
Yeah.
lot. But yeah, if everything else stayed the same, it's thank God it happened now and not 10 years ago.
Yeah, true. Back or even back when there were like, epidemics when people just wrote letters to each other, like I bet you like all mail systems were like just off. And, during the plague or the Spanish flu, I bet you all that stuff was like just rough, you
Yeah, I
know?
mean, if you didn't hear from someone, you didn't know if their letter got lost or if they were dead,
Yeah.
like now we can at least check in. It's super easy to, post something just so people know you're alive and
Yeah.
that's it. And but it's been a very, I'm not gonna lie, there's a few days where I get pretty uh like wound up,
Hmm.
because I am a kind of social person. I'm used to like meeting new people all the time.
Yeah. True.
So,
True.
but yeah, man, we're here. We gotta do our little intro. That hasn't
We do.
changed.
For sure.
If you're tuned in and this is your first time listening, we got a whole bunch more episodes. This is actually episode 175, so 174 more you could listen to. Those are all on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, lfodradio.com, pretty much any podcast app. You can subscribe if you want to get new ones right away. Hit us up at LFOD Radio or LFOD Life on Facebook. I'll do a big shout out to all our patrons, all our sponsors, you, Thomas, Amanda, the record company, Pavement Coffee,
Word.
everyone who was a part of this journey this year. There were
Mhm.
a lot of people, everyone we met on the road. We That's the wildest part is I was literally driving around meeting new people like every couple days, and I don't know how soon people are going to want to be welcoming strangers into their spaces.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, the corner in Charlotte let us record there. We recorded at Wealthy Records also in Charlotte, a lot of Airbnb stuff. um,
Mhm.
it was just cool, like, so shout out to everyone who's been a part of this trip this year, because it has been a trip, man. We started this season thinking it was going to go one way and it went quite differently.
Yeah. It's so trippy, man. I keep looking back to the winter and I'm like, oh man, I was like hating the cold. I was just waiting for it to be summer. And now it's like not this summer, but like not this, not like this.
Can't
But
wait to be next summer.
yeah, pretty much. It's all right though. I think that one way or another, like whatever we need like comes to us, I hope, you know.
Yeah, and that says a lot about not taking moments for granted
Hmm.
and really just appreciating what's happening as it's happening, because there's a lot of really simple things that we took for granted.
Yeah. And
And
constructing what you can with what you got, I think is important.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
agreed. So that being said, this is our first, well, this is the last episode of the season and the first Zoom episode. We'll see if the
Yeah.
video gets posted, but audio, this is a good way for us to capture it. 25 episodes this season, pretty solid clip.
That
We
is
were,
numerous.
yeah, we were dropping pretty much weekly from November forward. So I thought it would be cool if we just went through and kind of recapped each episode a little bit. Just, our feelings on them, off the
Mhm.
cuff looking
Yeah,
back. So, we started season 6, episode 1, episode 150 total.
Mhm.
First time at the record company. We used to record live on air. We were live before all this.
Yeah,
So this live stuff is no problem for us. We were
yeah.
live on air, we recorded it, and then we put it out. This was the first year we started recording in advance and like adding new production techniques and stuff, really having cameras and lights and the ability to edit clips and,
Mm.
what was that? What do you think that was like for you, that transition?
That was like, I think I maybe said it in the beginning, but I was like, this is totally Hollywood. Like, it's just like, the lights. We had lights in WMFO, but I remember like it's just like I think it was even just like having the table and like a cup of coffee. It's like I think I'm on Ellen right now, It was so funny.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, and shout out to the listeners who we did have some technical a learning curve in terms of I'm looking at the first photo we took and we didn't have those soundboards behind us. And I
Yeah.
remember Thomas was like, dude, everything is just bouncing off that brick wall. And we were trying to be like Ellen. Well, not like Ellen, but we had the lapel mics, but we
Hmm.
found out pretty quickly that for those you need to be 2 people max or
Yeah.
super separate.
Yeah.
And we moved back to these mics, which funny enough, I brought the whole setup with me in case I was going to set up and do podcasts out in California. So I have like 4 like when's the next time 4 people are going to sit around a table with me?
Yeah. You may as well have left a mic with me or something, in this
Right.
situation.
But who would have thought that like
Well, yeah, seriously. Like how could we have predicted
I
this?
could have left a bunch of stuff with you, but we thought I'd just come back.
Yeah.
So we'll get you some stuff though when we figure
Yeah.
out how it's
Over
going
time.
forward. I'm hoping we'll be able to not rely on like Zoom infrastructure to do these in the future, but
Yeah, for sure.
we'll see. So after that next week, we had our first guest. We had God.
Hmm.
Hell of a way to start things off. And shout out to Gio. He's been on a run like pretty much since then. He dropped a bunch of singles. He dropped Are You Ready Now, which I
Hmm.
think was pretty well received. I only saw good news about it. And he's been
Yeah.
dropping singles pretty regularly since that. Um, Anything that stands out to you from that episode?
Um, I remember I remember just feeling like, and this goes for I think a lot of the season, but I think that with the Geo episode, that was like a really like good way to open up sort of like the theme. And I think that like with a lot of our artists, we're seeing them like really just like with something built for themselves, like sometimes artists have like just, the freestyles they do in their room, that they record. And I think that that's all beautiful. But I think that it's also really good to, get that perspective of like, how do you, if you want to take it to that level, how do you get there? And a lot of these people just tell, like, they just say exactly what they did. And I think it's a great learning experience.
Yeah, there were a lot of gems this season. Everyone was sharing a lot, and even the episode we just dropped this week, um, or last week when you guys hear this,
Mhm.
was Hello Six and Miles Stone in Atlanta, and they both dropped some big gems. And I love it when artists do that because you don't have to. You could just talk about yourself and things, but I like it when they look out for other artists along the way,
Yeah.
which is really cool. Speaking of which, next up was K Watts.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that one. I like that we had another boom bap artist, Um, And that's putting it, that's a generalized term, but Kate Watts's music, it just hits me where like I used to listen to music in high school, because like that was when I first started listening to Illmatic and just getting into real classic rap, and I think that she definitely respects the classics and in her style.
Yeah, that essence is there.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what's up. Followed that up with DJ Sham. Shout out
Mhm.
Sham. She's been popping up in our lives. We've been going live every Tuesday, 9 p.m. on Instagram. She's been popping up. She's another person with big vision.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like
Boston,
the
Boston got next.
Boston got next. Yeah, that phrase, that was great. I took that one to heart. I remember I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm like, because I remember I was just about to go to New York, so I was like thinking to myself like, I can't, I didn't bring like a socks hat with me. It's just like she got me in the spirit of Boston music is really dope, and I think that that's what we're here to do with these interviews. So, or show people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all about shining that spotlight
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for sure and elevating as high as we possibly can. So yeah, and then you were in New York, the next episode. For it's a little behind the scenes stuff. We were on a wild tear this winter because we decided originally we were going to broadcast live still while I was traveling, but then we made the decision to record everything in advance and drop it as the season went on, along with mixing in the road episodes. So basically I think we recorded 17 or 18 of these in the span of 2 months, basically November and December. So we were two in a row on Sunday, then one on
Yeah,
Monday, then one on Tuesday, and it
three,
was
4 a week.
yeah, exactly. And you were in New York for this one, but I chopped it up with Pomegranate
Hmm.
afterwards. Shout out to Pomegranate. They're a bunch of New
Yeah.
Hampshire boys, a whole collective. That was a pretty wild. That was the largest group we'd had so far. Definitely tested our microphone limits.
Mm.
Um, I'm looking at the
So
photo
they
right
came deep.
now. Joey Roxit has his Epstein didn't kill himself ugly Christmas sweater on in it, which is wild that so much has happened in the world that that Epstein meme is already like all of this feels like another era at this point.
Yeah. No, I part of me kind of irked. I'm kind of irked, honestly, that like we're kicking off the decade with a pandemic. I don't
Right.
really lend, like just because it went from 2019 to 2020, it's not like super special. Like it's just another year, really. But like I don't know. I think
It's
that it's huh.
no, keep going.
Oh yeah. I just think that it's a good like having a new year, is a good way to compartmentalize like, okay, like what am I going to do differently or how am I going to improve? And that's the biggest challenge right now is that like how can someone improve themselves in this kind of situation? It's like not easy for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I think unfortunately I can already see the textbooks 20, 30 years from now. This is probably going to be how they define the 20s. They're going to be
Yeah.
like it's going to affect things for a while and
All those documentaries, about the 80s, the 90s, like the 2010s will have their own
yep.
the coronavirus and like in the first 2 seconds of it.
Right, 2019, everyone thought things were heading in this direction, and it's really a test of how flexible and but humans, man, what we do is we adapt to any
Yeah.
environment. That's why we're everywhere. So
Hmm.
you just got to adapt to it, and you'll find a way. But man, a lot of plans got changed.
Yeah, for sure.
But shout out to Pomegranate, they're a part of an upcoming plan. We just announced this last night and we'll put it here so you guys will get it. Um, June 3rd is still LFOD Day,
Oh
and we
yeah.
are still celebrating LFOD Day, and we're celebrating it with a virtual concert this year. So that's going to be at lfodday.com. It'll be streaming everywhere, but you want to go there because there'll be a chat and it'll be set up and it'll look much better. But we're going to be, it's Lightfoot's EP release party for his new EP that he's dropping. We also have Rilla Force on the bill. We have Pomegranate on the bill. We have Seneca B on the bill. And we have John Glass on the bill. Rose Glen is helping us present it. And there'll be an after party by DJ B. There'll be an after party by DJ BKS. And he's going to be spinning until people want to go home. So it's gonna be fire, man. Yeah.
That hit me too late.
Yeah, we got it. So it's a lot of producers. Maybe we'll do some in the future with more rappers, but for the first one, just because they're ready for live streaming, we're gonna do a bunch of producers we rock with, and most of them have live streamed before. So I'm really excited. It's gonna be pretty well put together.
That's dope. Yeah. Can I say one more thing about Pomegranate, by the way? I just was thinking about it in my head. Like, oh
Yeah,
man, I want to say
please.
it. I really liked their interview because I remember the state of mind I was in when I was in the studio, like morning, throwing it on a FM and listening, and then like doing the songs in between. I remember just like the whole vibe of the song Duffel was like just I was like, like I just got back from like a little like New England adventure, and it's just like I was like, oh, this feels good, man. Like I feel like I'm doing the right things with my life, and I think that they're doing it. You know,
Hell yeah! Shout
that's the
out
vibe of that song.
Pomegranate.
Shout out, indeed.
And then after that, we had just a solo episode with you and I.
Yeah.
Not much to say about that. We talked about bonsai trees and all sorts of stuff about trees and, travel and
Energy,
kind of
man.
what was to come. Then we got into the state of New England hip hop,
Yeah.
which is another thing. We did this live
Mhm.
at the WBUR City Space. We had a panel with Latrell James, Oompa, Jess Richards, Brandon Bedlam from Show Off, Dart Adams, and myself. And we went in depth about what the state of hip hop was in New England, what we had accomplished, where we were heading, some things people could do to add to that. A lot of that advice is still very relevant today, even though a lot has changed. So any artists who are tuned in, or actually any folks that want to be in the music business outside of making art that are tuned in, I would heavily suggest taking a listen to that. Or you could watch the video even, because that was a really, really powerful one, I think. And that's all at lfodradio.com too.
Word up. Yeah, no, I liked the state of New England hip hop. It was, I guess, like also not just one of our regular episodes. Like there was a whole like banquet and just like a social, kind of ice cream social type beginning, and a little concert afterwards. Like it was not just, yeah, it was great. It was not just like we're coming in, we're gonna do the interview. It was like also I didn't actually have to prep for it because I was just sitting in the audience, I
You got
was
to
like,
watch
oh.
that one.
Yeah,
But
I
you
got to just
met
like
mad
shake hands
people.
and
I'll
work the
bet.
booth and yeah, and eat some food. I was like, this is not so bad.
Yeah, the food was fire. We had
Yeah,
it was catered by a local restaurant.
yeah, local Brazilian.
And it was very tasty. I met a bunch of people there too. It was dope to meet people who had sent us music, face to face. And
Yeah,
shout out
yeah, for sure.
Paranom. Paranom did close it out with a show. So
Yeah, yeah, it was dope.
a week later, we were talking with Rilla Force.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I like that. Yeah, my sister came and watched that one with us. That was fun.
Yeah, Rilla's the
Yeah,
man. He's just such a big personality, and like
yeah, for sure.
very pastel. Like it's good vibes.
Yeah,
you know.
I feel quite zen when I talk to him. I feel like, yeah, like it's I don't know, like we're in a hip hop kung fu movie or something. It's dope.
That's what's up, man. Hip hop kung fu. Yeah, I love Rilla's the man. He's got an album out now too. Fiesta dropped a little bit after that, and he'll be on the bill with us in 2 weeks. So after that, Najee Janie. I feel
Yeah.
like you guys vibed heavy.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I like that. I like I just like his vibe in his music. I feel like he really sort of pushes like limits. I don't know. Yeah, I get these sort of like common vibes from his music, but it's still so unique, you know. It's very cool. And it was a good conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were talking about 5G towers like way
Yeah.
way
We got we
before.
got we got into the real stuff. We were like, we need to discuss it at least a little, you know, like 5G towers are creepy and we should all be looking into that. We should all be looking into GMOs and like we should all be looking into this stuff, you know.
Yep, he was on the wave. That was a good one. Shout out the whole squad there. Um, Next up, you weren't here for this one either, but I was, and this one was
Mhm.
wild to me. And I think it's a slept on episode too. We had a couple beatboxers in. We had Decoy and Choppa the beatboxer, and they had never met before. And we had a long convo about the beatbox scene community. They're from two different generations of it. Choppa is from more of the live generation. Decoy, I think he turned 18 in January. So like he came up watching it through videos and stuff and then started experiencing it online first. But they both agreed that you do have to go out and do it in public. So they met in the middle and they had like very similar views on it, but like very different styles and introductions. And then they not only did they beatbox for their extra bars, but they jammed together. First time
Mhm.
meeting each other, first time performing together, and they locked in and were trading drums and instrumentation and back and forth. And it was really cool because I don't see too much beatbox stuff in the culture right now.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not quite like at the forefront as a lot of other hip hop, and you know, it's not something to be slept on. I love I myself love participating in beatboxing, just hearing a song and then doing it along with your own mouth, yeah, like it's just great. But yeah, I love their collaboration, and yeah, just gotta keep putting that spotlight on the beatboxers because they're dope.
Yeah, yeah. There's gonna be more. We're gonna have to follow up with them for sure
Yeah.
because they had
Who
stuff going
who
on.
was that? There used to be like a famous beatboxer in the hip hop world. He was featured on a bunch of songs and he never like rapped except in one of them or
You're
something.
probably talking about Rozelle.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably it. He's
Yep,
dope. Yeah,
yep. They he came up a few times in there, so
that's dope.
it was fire. Yeah. Um, Timbo used to always like beatbox at the end of his beats and stuff. And
Mm.
there's a Mr. Liff has a song with Acrobatic actually that's got some cool beat. So it pops up in little
It
places,
does,
and it's
yeah.
always cool when it does.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So next up was Durkin, another one that you were out of town for,
Yeah.
but that was a good one too. Shout out to Durkin. He has a lot of experience DJing in the Boston scene over the years, seeing it change, seeing how it's moved around. He does great music with Maka. They have a few albums out on Fool's Gold Records. And he's been doing live stuff. He's on Twitch every Saturday at 6 p.m. Live a Little is what it's called, and he's good. He's a good guy, and he has a good ear and he plays good music. So definitely
Yeah.
tap in with Durkin, and he can tell a lot. I mean, he's DJ'd Zuzu. He's worked with Black L, Michael Christmas, a lot of people. So,
Yeah. I liked his mix too, the one he dropped
oh,
for
good,
our episode.
good point. All the DJs we've mentioned so far also dropped LFOD mixes for us. So each of those DJs has like a 25-minute mix they dropped, which is on Mixcloud for all of them, YouTube for most of them, although a few got taken down, and not by us, but by the feds. So, but Mixcloud has all of them. So that's mixcloud.com/LFOD radio. And it's also on their page on lfodradio.com. The next one was sort of a throwback episode with Daedalus and Obuxum. I had met them at Nightworks. Shout out Razen, Kadim, Samo, and the whole gang there, DJ Manipulator. And, you know, they've been throwing, I know there's Inspector, shout out him. So shout out to the whole Nightworks crew, because they were going super hard for the beat scene before this happened, and they're still going hard behind the scenes. I know they're working on stuff, but they plugged me in with Daedalus and Obuxum, and also many other artists. But we dropped this dual interview. Did you end up? I think you got a kick out of the Daedalus interview.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. That was cool.
Yeah, we went into outer space.
Yeah, I was definitely enjoying that. I love that, like, even for the ones I was absent for, I was still like pushing play in the radio station, and like just like it was a nice, like, it was a nice way to do the Monday morning, even if it was early. You know, I was like, well, you know, now that it's like getting there, you're like, oh god, the weather sucks, all this, that, but like getting there and hearing Daedalus talk about, you know, all that. I you know, I hate to say it, but it was months since I last listened to that one. But
right,
he got trippy, you know, and I really, like, I was like, wow, he's really on the forefronts of some like deep thought, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, very much like understanding the entire world through music as like
Yeah,
the medium.
yeah.
This next one you were here for, very much so. C. Wells, Lynn, Massachusetts.
That was a good one. I liked it. I like his phrase, "live famous." That one always sticks with me. He's got some new merch coming out for that too. I was seeing some posts recently, and it was just good. Yeah, I remember, like, I was like, I always try to find at least one thing with our guests to like take home, you know, take to heart. And "live famous" was definitely it for me with that one. You know.
Yeah, that's a great phrase. Great
Yeah,
phrase.
yeah. So I feel like he really, you know, he like, he assumes that, you know, like air about him. Like a lot of these people that we interviewed, I came in, I was like, oh wow, you know, like I feel like I'm really sitting down with like a star, you know. And that's what's neat, I think, about that phrase, is that like he can produce his own energy in that way intentionally, and I think all of us can do that with a little effort, you know.
Hell yeah. He had another one that I actually was thinking about last week. He mentioned there's like things he wanted to do, but first you need to do the things you're supposed to do before
Yeah,
those doors open. And his example was, you might be home and there might be like, you know, you might have thrown a shirt on the floor or something, and like you might not want to pick it up, but you know you need to. And by picking up, then you might have time to like wipe your TV off, and like kind of how like your energy can really get stuck, and then like doing little things that you're supposed to do can snowball, and now you're in a much better place and you're able to do what you want to do, and how that applies to the music industry and things as well. And I was thinking about that last week, because we're in a space where you can kind of get overwhelmed and like
yeah,
really discouraged, but you can still find things. Even though we're all in our house, you can find things around the house that, you know, doing them might open up a block for you. And
yeah,
especially artists, there's a lot of paperwork, artists, that, you know, needs to be done. I have a list too, and it's boring. It involves spreadsheets. It's not fun, but like we got to do it, and
yeah.
it
I gotta
can
make
lead to
some
good
spreadsheets.
things in the future. So next up was your homie Stiggity Stacks.
Yeah, the Stacks episode. I like that one. That was good. I feel like it was that was like a rallying cry. You know, I feel like a lot of these are success stories, and you know, of course, that Stacks has a success story. And but like I remember we were like, all right, so like, what do we need to do to, like, you know, fill in fill in those little things that we don't quite like about the scene, or about like the way, things have to get done at the moment versus the way we wish they could get done. And we got to like, still I'm thinking about this like whole property thing, and like there must be some way to like avoid a noise complaint, or like avoid this and that, you know.
without moving into, the woods.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's how it seems like it needs to go, and that's just like not gonna work for everybody.
Right.
Um, so there's got to be another way, you know.
Yeah, that was a huge one because that was you told me about him and pretty much since I met you. And I spoke to him at the Museum of Fine Arts when they did Hipstery. Hipstery did Historic Night at the Museum too, and I met him there. And it was a really good conversation. And
Mhm.
he came back and like same energy, and also but we expanded on it, but also kept it at a level where if you hadn't heard the first one, you could jump in and learn something.
Yeah, for sure.
And he shout out to Stacks because it always makes me happy to see artists. So everyone who leaves LFOD gets a number of videos and photos and things they can use to uh, promote the episode, but they can also use it to promote themselves and reuse them in other ways. And it's always cool to see that. And I saw Stacks; he had another interview earlier this week, and
Yeah.
that company actually used the clip from our interview as a
Hmm.
way to promote theirs because it's 1 minute, but it was a really powerful piece of conversation, and it was a good way to say, hey, you might want to hear what this guy has to say. And
Yeah.
I'm really happy to see when things are reused and repackaged and take people further. So that was
Hmm.
cool. So shout out to Stacks, and
Yeah, for sure.
shout out to everyone doing that. And if you hadn't thought about doing that, I would just say, like, your words are not just tied to that episode or tied to that moment in time. Like, use them, share them. You can find something to do.
Yeah, yeah. Even
So
find like, a way to grow off those topics. You don't have to like just reuse the same video, but like discuss something you discussed in the interview, cool stuff that you
right,
maybe want to like talk more about when you thought about it, when you like listen back or something.
right. Yeah, exactly. Or if you didn't like it, learn what you want to do differently the next time.
Yeah,
Because we're
yeah.
all learning how to speak in public.
Oh man, it's rough when I go back and listen to my first season, man. I like I'm just sitting there and I'm like, man, like what was I doing? I knew what I was doing, but also what was I doing? It's like I guess I knew in that moment, in the present of that past, I knew I was like, this is obviously gonna take a little getting used to.
Yeah,
Like you don't just hop on a mic. Like I'm not like this magic, like made to be a shining star type dude, like
you
it's
might
like you
be.
gotta get used to a microphone a little bit, like
Yeah,
it's sort of nerve wracking to think about like your voice being projected into like so many earbuds or like so many car radios. You're like,
right,
uh-oh.
right. It happens though, and you look at us now.
Yeah, for
We're
sure.
out here. So next up is the first episode from the road. The road episodes, by the way, are not dropping in the order I did them. They're just in the order that it made sense to drop them. So this was from Charlotte. I spoke to Sianka and Lord Jamonte Ogbon. I don't know if you got a chance to check that one out.
I did. I think I remember. Yeah, I just remember like this really cool like down south vibe from the interviews.
Yeah, yeah, very Charlotte. Shout out to Sianka. She actually makes music that is, in my mind, like almost perfect for quarantine. So I was rocking her stuff, you know,
Solid.
pretty heavy
Solid.
during this. So that's Cyanca if you want to check her out. And like Lord Jamonte Ogbon, if you haven't checked him out, I think he's a spitter and he's a wave that is coming that if you're not familiar with, you might as well get familiar with it because it's a wave for real.
Yeah.
He's he's a hilarious dude. his album titles, his song titles are like 15 words long. I think his new one is she got her baby daddy tattooed on her neck, but I still love her, or something like that. So it's things like that, you know. So shout out him, and shout out Thomas, because at the beginning of this, I wasn't always telling people not to swear, and he swears like every 5 words. And
Yeah.
Thomas
I
texted
do
me,
remember that.
he's like, this is like insane editing this. So, but it's all good. Next up, we spoke
Appreciate
to,
you, Thomas.
yeah, he's been working. He didn't work from home during all this. He's been going to work this whole time and then editing these as well. So,
Mm.
next up, we spoke to I9. You weren't there for that one, but Amanda was in the building. Shout out Amanda Shea. She
Yeah.
was in a bunch of episodes this year as well. Did you catch this one?
I did. Yeah, I did listen to this one. I9. I'd say, trying to jog my memory. I think that what really hit me is that, like, he's really worked with some like really up there people, right? And I
He
had no idea, I'd never heard of him. And I'm not, like I consider myself to live under a rock to a certain extent. So that's nothing about that says nothing about him. But yeah, it was like I remember just thinking like this was a like an underground New Hampshire rapper that you had known, and I wasn't sure, like who he was.
Well,
And
that's what
he
we're here
started.
for.
Exactly. Yeah, he started, just dropping all these names of people he's worked with. Was it RZA?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, when you get invited to RZA's 50th birthday party, it's like
that that's real. I was like, oh man, that's pretty cool. Like,
that story's crazy, because I knew he knew RZA. I knew he was signed to Wu-Tang management. Like, I knew he was affiliated with Wu-Tang, but I had never heard him tell the story before. And
mm,
it's wild. I would recommend everyone listen to that, because it's really, and it's something that applies today with these lives. You never know who's watching. And it literally was, they had a regularly occurring uh, event in Portland, rap night, every Wednesday, and RZA was in town and was asking, someone at the hotel he was in what was going on, and she knew about rap night and was like, "Oh, they're throwing a thing over at that place. Like, it's hip hop. Maybe go check it out." And the next thing they know, RZA's there. He catches his set, and then I9, the manager texts him the next day. He's like, "Yo, RZA's asking for your phone number," and he
yeah,
gets a call from RZA, and then goes on tour. He went on the Man with the Iron Fist tour with them. He went on a national tour like a week later,
that's
because
so
he
good.
performed at like a weekly, rap event in Portland, Maine. So, artists, get out there. It's super easy to pop into an open mic or anything right now. Super easy, and you can make stuff happen.
Yeah.
Episode 166. It's Lit Boston.
6, yeah. That was a fun one.
Talk about a squad.
Yeah. Yeah. I met Wholesome Mike at the BMAs, but I like how I just called him Wholesome Mike. I'm not
He
even sure.
wasn't Wholesome Mike at the BMAs. That was new. That was a brand new nickname when we met him.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I guess so. But yeah, like I love how I'm starting to slowly meet more people, especially in the like it's lit corner. Like, I didn't even know that DJ Real P and them were cool like that, until I started getting ready for that episode. And I was like, wait, he's in like 10 episodes, like, and it's just like I mess with it, like I like their vibe, I like what they're about, and their space that they're creating.
Yeah, shout out It's Lit. They're always about um, bringing people together and reaching out. And as soon as they like really started, I met them at a Killer Boombox event, I believe, last year, and they were saying like, we don't really, would rather stay home, but like we're gonna start like going to things. And then since then, they've been all over the place making moves, and
Yeah, for
they're
sure.
all about plugging people in. So shout out to them. And you can
I should take after that.
you say what?
I said I should take after that. I need to get out more.
Yeah, popping a
Um,
live. There's a bunch of lives taking
yeah.
place every night. So yeah, shout out to them. That was cool. They and they'll talk about whatever too. So
Mhm. Mhm.
then we had DJ Troy Frost, which I really enjoyed this episode because it went in a totally unexpected direction.
Mhm.
Talking about
Yeah,
cartoons and
I love that sci-fi kind of like theme that was there or Afrofuturism, but that's
yep,
sci-fi. That's
yeah,
kind of science fiction, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I remember not expecting that because I know that I had looked into like some of her work and tried to look at interviews and all that stuff, and I had no idea about that Afrofuturism. Like that was like a complete like uncovered thing, you know, that I had no idea about, and I was like, I have never heard of this at all, and I love it. And I was like, I love it. It's great, you know, like it's just such a creative, and I think I'm just getting into cartoons more these days. I'm
okay.
watching a lot of anime, and it's right in that alley, you know.
Oh yeah, and she was excited to talk about it too. So we just talked about that. We talked a lot about DJing, talked about community. Like it was really good. Shout out to Pavement Coffee. I do remember. So we were doing back-to-back interviews and drinking a lot of coffee. And not only were we drinking a lot of coffee that day, but we talked to her after It's Lit, and it couldn't have been more opposite energies, but it worked out really well. But I do
Yeah,
remember we were jacked up for that
yeah,
interview.
yeah. I'll never forget that. She seemed like quite like relaxed and like hello, you know, like very very nice. And we're just like, we're just like setting up, you know, a set and, you know, breaking things down and unbreaking things down.
Oh yeah, we were like freaking out.
Like, hey, we're just, you know, a little bit peppy. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, we're not normally like this. So the next episode, neither of us really were in. We did a looking back at 24 and 24 episode.
Mm,
And what I did in that was I reached out to all the artists who were involved, and as many of them that could sent me like a 1 to 2 minute audio clip looking back on it and what it meant to them, what it was like, et cetera, et cetera. And I just want to thank everyone who was a part of it at the time. I want to thank everyone who has reached out about it, from fans to artists to everybody who's, come into our world via this, and everyone who gave feedback, because I was pretty moved by this one. I didn't expect quite the level of like the level of words they were using. Like the word honor came up a bunch of times. Uh, Danny Macedo said, he has since become a father and has been focusing on being a chef and like really isn't putting a lot into music. And he was like, no matter what, I can say I was on this album with these caliber of artists and I can play this for my kid, and like just stuff like that, which was really a lot to hear and really made me feel
yeah,
like it was worth doing it. And because it felt good at the time, and I know it created a lot of ripples and connections at the time, and that was always our goal. But then to hear years later everyone have they seemed excited to talk about it, which felt good. And
yeah. That's great. That's touching.
yeah, and there were a few like not for nothing, Casso is almost impossible to find.
Mm,
Ryan Easter is not easy to find right now. These are people who have like stepped back to like, reevaluate stuff, and they popped up and we have them on there talking about it, in no uncertain terms either. So it means a lot to the type of people that, um, will come back for it. So shout out to everyone we heard from. It really meant a lot. Everyone putting their words in and their
yeah,
thoughts.
yeah,
So
straight up.
next up, episode 169, Brandy Blaze.
Brandy
Amanda
Blake.
Shea was here for this one too.
That was great. I like that one.
That
That
one
was a fun
was,
one.
yeah, that one was another one that went in a lot of different directions, and I think we got pretty, we got pretty into some things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I
Uh,
remember going over that misandry line. I remember that was kind of interesting.
yeah,
Um,
I wasn't even sure if it was like right for me to ask that question.
yeah, I was like, I don't know where this is gonna go after I saw it on the notes, and I was like, you know, it's just whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. And I know I'll never forget like the first moment she walked in. She's like, "Hi," you know, it was just like really nice. I was like, what was I even what was I even thinking? I'm not about, you know, I'm like, I'm not about to be like criticized in any way, you know, like that's not, I don't know. People aren't like that. You think like you expect something before you meet someone, and then you realize like that was stupid, you know, like,
Right. But that's a big thing with Brandy is like Brandy and Brandy Blaze
mhm.
are two, and that was cool to talk about as well, is it does have such polar opposites. And she
Yeah,
mentioned in it that when she first started, she had a big name in the Boston scene tell her career would never work because she was so opposite and people wouldn't be
yeah.
able to handle it.
And she
And
didn't like get rid of that, you know. She was like,
right,
I'm not stamping that. I'm not putting my light in a bushel, so to speak.
right. So shout out Brandy Blaze.
Yeah.
Next up, we're back on the road with E-Turn. That was down in just outside Orlando, Florida. I need to shout out E-Turn because so I was in Miami and we were going back and forth and we're like, all right, we're going to make this work. We're going to make this work. And she had a show the night before with a bunch of fake four artists. So Chesky and Gregory Pepper and Bluebird, Wanchi. And it was like a big, family affair. Chesky's from Connecticut, if folks don't know him. And I had never seen him, but I'd heard about him and such, things like that. So I went, that show was wild. It was just getting super late. And I was like, I don't know what we're going to do here. And she's like, come stay at my place. We'll do the interview tomorrow. So I ended up staying on her futon. Then we got breakfast with Gregory and
Oh,
Chesky. And then we did this interview. So it was cool throughout the trip. There was just incredible hospitality.
yeah,
People that
yeah.
I didn't really know too well. And that's, really the power of music, and something that music has given me and hip hop has given me is it was really cool to be able to go to different parts of the country and kind of have family there just because
Mhm.
we had similar, interests and dreams. So,
Yeah, like a common community connection. I think it's
yeah,
really special.
yeah. So, and that was a good episode. She put me on to Hayeda, probably saying it wrong, but Hayedeh.
Mhm.
She's an Iranian singer, and
That's right. Yeah, she was talking about that.
I've been bumping it. I like it. It's like a movie. It's really like a movie.
Word, word. I'll look into that. I'll have to.
Yeah, the backing tracks are like orchestral, and
Yeah. Oh, that sounds dope. I love orchestral type music.
yeah, and she's got pipes.
Pipes.
So
Okay.
pipes.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Uh,
I was wondering. I was like, I think I remember a little comment that you like felt like you couldn't keep track of all the Florida artists, or like you were like, wow, there's like it's really a big state. Or maybe that was, no, you mentioned that in a later one, but
Florida's gigantic. I will say that.
yeah,
Like no matter how big you think Florida is, it's bigger. Like I could
yeah,
not believe how far away Miami was from the border.
yeah, yeah.
Like a
It's pretty
10-hour
wild.
drive.
10 hours?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah, but that's why
that's
Miami's cool because it's really its own world.
yeah,
Miami was cool. I really felt like I was in GTA the whole time.
that's so
And
dope. I gotta go.
yeah, yeah. I was literally listening to nothing but Osuna and just blasting around, whipping. So
Nice, nice.
yeah. Next up, we had DJ Deadeye.
Yeah,
This
that
was
one.
our last interview. This was our last interview before we left.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I like that one. It was cool. It was cool to, you know, like I felt like it was almost a history lesson. You know, I didn't really chime in at that moment with a comment, but I remember he's talking about like he started DJing like 97, 98. I was born in '97, and it blew my mind that you could really do all of that for like that long, and have a great time, especially the way he talked about what do you call it? Taking in the moment, and like take a moment, breathe, take 5 minutes, and just like step out of yourself and realize what's going on,
Like,
and just
whoa, I'm in
remember
Austria right now. Like,
yeah, yeah, straight up. And I think it's it gives me hope. It gives me hope. I'm like, life is gonna be long and fun. And I hope, but it's a really you can make it. You can make it anything you want.
yeah, the moment thing actually was a huge gem for me as I left, because I was about to, really travel.
Hmm.
And he said, he's like, I'll be like, yo, Term, do you remember that time in Frankfurt? And Term's like, no. And he's like, but every time we went overseas, I would like every day take a minute and just, and,
Yeah.
it was really cool to not, to really, and that's huge now too, gratitude and appreciating stuff. And no
Hmm.
matter what you're doing now, take a moment. Like, don't let this, time is flying right now.
Yeah.
Time is moving very quickly, I've noticed. So, just take it in. Like, even though it
Yeah.
might suck, even if you're not having a good time, like, just be aware of the time you're in. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. For real.
so,
I hate to
and
say it, but sorry, it seems like more, the time that we take, it's very like the more we do the same thing over and over again, like not leave our house, like the more it's gonna blend together. So it's
yeah,
real.
yeah, it's every day is this, dude. I often eat the same thing for breakfast. And when I go somewhere, it doesn't bother me. But like here, I'm just like, again? Like, and I'm like frustrated at breakfast. But it's like, what's the difference? But it's
Yeah.
something about it. It's getting super repetitive.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I forgot to buy eggs at the grocery store yesterday. Maybe that's why,
Yeah. I
just
don't know, man.
subconsciously setting myself up.
Maybe you just gotta quit the eggs for a sec. But yeah.
They're so good. Big Low. Next up was
Big
Big
love.
Low.
Yeah.
That was in Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah. That was a cool one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like his vibe. I just listened to that one a little while earlier, and it was interesting. I think that I found a lot of commonalities between him and the Skrilla H episode, and how it really seems like they've sort of built this like kingdom or network around their art, and not necessarily like revolving completely around theirs, like it's the sun, but it's just like they have a community and they work with them, and they're also like reaching up north, and starting to sort of create like this interstate type like music network where they can, go do a show in a different state if they want to. And I think that's so cool. I think that
yeah,
it was really cool to hear about, like, yeah, just sort of almost like a success story, and how it can even go further.
that's cool. I appreciate you saying that because I don't think I made the connection between those two. So that's fire. Yeah, he was cool. It felt like I knew you'd like that one because he describes himself as stoic, and but it was just a super comfortable vibe.
Hmm.
Super gentleman, invited us into his home, ordered a bunch of wings and
Nice.
pizza and food,
Oh,
so it was cool. Like, I met his family,
yeah,
and it was really cool. No one had to do any of this stuff along the way, but they did. And
yeah,
and he's a good dude too. So artists who are tuned in, he has a YouTube page where he basically breaks down all the different pieces of his workflow, whether it's booking tours or budgeting for them or writing treatments for your music videos. So he's definitely a dude who doesn't hoard his knowledge, which is cool. So um, and it
word.
was just he's a cool guy to talk to.
Yeah,
um, Next up we had Skrilla H, who you just brought up, and DJ Ross Lou G. That was Miami. Well, Skrilla H was Miami, and Ross I met up with in Pensacola with Big Low.
word. Yeah, that was a dope one. I liked what's Well, I gotta say, like my introduction to Skrilla was his J Boston concert, and
Yeah.
yeah, that Best of Me track. I remember I was like, I gotta find that. Like in my head, I was like, I was trying to remember the name of the song and where to find it, and definitely lost it. But
Did
I'm
you listen to it after hearing the episode?
no, not yet. I'm like,
Do it, because
now.
I did. He told
Yeah,
me. It was funny because it took me the same thing. It took me like 3 months to find it again because I
yeah,
was like, "You did a song," and he's like, "Oh yeah," and
yeah,
it is as good as I remembered. So
yeah. Oh, I gotta find that one. I gotta find it.
yeah, he drops a lot of gems about recording too. Some that created a bit of commentary on our Instagram because
Mhm.
he stopped writing. He started just recording,
Yeah,
and a lot of back and forth between artists about how to do things. And I definitely learned a lot from talking to him. The big
yeah,
gem was like the difference is like you're asking me to express myself and I can. So I just record. I don't write. I know how to say how I feel. And
yeah.
it's like, okay, all right, man.
That was really big because I feel like I've been getting into recording myself, and not in the same sense. I don't think like we're talking about him recording his verbal tracks, and I've just been doing some dance videos recently, and most of them are just sort of these small projects people are doing. They're like, anyone wants to come, and I'm like, yeah, I'll show up. And it's just a way. It's like me, like I realized it's like something in its own like lane that you have to practice with. And the way that what really hit me was I'm like, I don't think that it's a very technical thing, or it has to be a technical thing, I should say. I think that like you can try to just like put a song in your earbuds if you're a dancer, and hear the vibe, make sure the camera's running, and then you might like just do some dope shit and dope stuff. And but yeah, like when he said like, instead of just like sitting down trying to like compose and write, like a song, he just is like, oh, I'm gonna go on YouTube, start freestyling on a beat. They're like, okay, that's a vibe. We wrote down some of the bars. He can remember a lot of it, I bet. And then just like, he said like, let's just make a beat that kind of like works like that one did. And I was like, that's how you're supposed to do it, man, because like that's where the love is. I feel like that's probably I feel like Skrilla's probably having a lot of fun with
Yeah,
the way he's making music, and
he's just
that's
making
what
music, and that's it.
yeah, yeah,
It's
straight up.
they were a cool crowd. And shout out to Ross, man. Ross is one of those local legends that, like, if you know, you know. The
Mm.
first night I saw him, he, starts taking off his pants and shows me this LFOD tattoo on his thigh. I was like, what? It's like, I have a surprise for you. Like, what's going on?
Oh my
And,
god.
so shout out Ross, man. And his
Yeah,
perspective's
right,
very
man.
interesting too. Um,
Do you even have an LFOD tattoo?
no, I don't. It's crazy. There's
Yeah.
there's three of them out there, and I don't have any of them yet. I
Mm.
feel like Deadeye when we were talking to Deadeye.
Yeah, I was just thinking like that's just like the Deadeye tattoo that
That's why
um,
I could relate. I was like, what did that feel like? Because I kind of know how it felt the first time I saw a photo.
mm,
I'm gonna get one eventually, but
eventually.
I don't have any ink, to be honest.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I like just don't put enough time into thinking about. And I know that I want to think about it hard
Yeah.
before I really get something.
I got my ear piercing. That's my only body modification, I guess. So
Mm.
maybe I'm a square. Who knows? Um, so, and then we're pretty much caught up.
Yeah.
Last week we dropped Hello Six and Milestone, and this one was cool to me because, first of all, shout out to Six, but shout out Najee Janey, because I don't know if you caught this. When we spoke to Najee Janey, we spoke for a while about what it's like for him to write for other people and put himself in their mindset.
Mm.
And then I started talking to Six, and it turns out Najee's writing for her on her new music. So we
Oh,
made the connection
okay.
between them. And she said some stuff because it was interesting. You hear a lot in Boston about there's not love and this and that. And she was saying the love in New England is so much stronger than in her hometown of Atlanta, which is where people think they need to go. And it was cool to hear. I think that'll be important for some Bostonians to hear, but also to hear that you really do need to kind of go to come back a lot of times. And she gets love in Boston, but at some point when she comes back to Atlanta, it'll crank up there as well. So, and on the flip side, Miles Stone moved to Atlanta to do music, and he dropped some gems about the type of mindset you have to have when you start doing music so that you don't get, or it really applies to anything, but this idea of truly knowing who you are and what you stand for, and not compromising or changing that for an opportunity, because you will have opportunities to do that where people will ask you to step out of yourself. And sometimes doing that will block all your future opportunities. And, really just not getting caught up
Yeah.
was his advice, and just really do the work to know yourself so
Mm-hmm.
that you know what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
Because cloud is a hell of a drug, my friend.
It's true.
It
Yeah.
really is.
It can change people. That's one thing I always like worried about is I was like, I never really see myself as someone who's gonna like chase fame or influence in that form. But like it's like, yeah, it's like this weird thing where even a little bit of it can maybe do something to you. I'm like, oh yeah, like this is something to be conscious about if I ever like really put efforts into like publishing recordings or, like doing that kind of thing.
Well, it doesn't just change you, it changes the people around you and the way they
Yeah,
approach you. So it's like
yeah, yeah, that too. I
new
think that's
levels, new devils, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. It's like,
Um,
dang, I just thought of a reference to slide in, but I forgot about it.
well, that's cool, man. It's cool.
That's fun.
So this is our first Zoom one, and I assume it's going to cut us off soon.
Yeah.
Is there you know, anything you wanted to say to put a footnote on the season, like some last thoughts?
So last thoughts? That's a good question. Um, you know, I think if there's anything I want to tell to the general public or whoever is listening, do not give up on anything you were trying to do before all this set in, because that's one thing I just noticed about this episode we just recorded is that we're trying to go through the whole season, and a few times it couldn't help but be brought up. It's like, oh yeah, quarantine this, COVID that, and people can't stop hearing enough of it. People, like, you hear people saying they're sick of it, and it's like, well, guess what? This is literally everybody's life, 24/7 right now. So, yeah, people are going to be talking about it a lot, and like you can't let it get you down. I think like um there's something to be said about like having to sort of lock yourself up and be alone. And I feel like I've actually gone down that road a little bit before, like before any quarantine stuff happened. Also, like um, one other thing, like I was pretty socially dormant even before, I'd say, because of my knee. I was like, I didn't even have the drive to go out and leave my house because I was like, it's literally just going to make my condition worse. And I'm already in some pain just lying down and like icing that shit. So like, what, I'm like, I'm gonna just stay home then, and it is what it is. But then everyone was staying home, and I was like just able to start like walking again on like a daily basis. And I was like, all right, so that's how we're doing it. Like, I have been quarantined since late January, and it's
Yeah.
like I remember definitely this moment where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely losing my mind, just like sitting around. But there's I think there's something to be said about like being in an empty space by yourself and being able to find comfort and like peace of mind just like alone. And I think that's a big thing about meditation, and we talk about that a lot, and I wanted to draw that home.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. I think that's a great way to close it. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, A-Ball. This was a great season, man. It was
It was.
it was a pleasure to have you by my side figuring all this out.
Of course.
And we'll be I'm sure we'll be figuring out what it's going to look like going forward because
Yep, it's a constant battle. There's no end.
yeah.
To it.
So traditionally we do take the summer off and we come back in the fall. We'll see what that looks like. If y'all want to let us know what you'd like to see at LFOD Radio on everything or LFOD Life on Facebook, reach out, send us messages. I am going to keep going live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. on Instagram. And that is really going to be whatever y'all want. Pull up. We're just chatting. Artists are coming on. They're playing music. If you have something you want to talk about, use our platform. The same as always. It's a platform for you, and we'll push it and give you a new audience. People have been connecting. People from around the country have been, we'll call it calling in. They've been calling in and they've been connecting with fans around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have reached out and said their numbers are going up in New England now and this and that. So it's been really cool, and it can be whatever you want. I'm really with whatever. We're going to try something new tonight. So tonight, 9 p.m., if you're tuned in on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern time, Instagram Live. And I'll be there every Tuesday for sure. And we'll see
I'll
what
be
we
there a lot
do.
of them.
Yeah. You're always in the comments. I love it. And we'll see what we bring back in terms of interviews and how we do it. But I'm thinking we're not going to want to wait till the fall because just how things are, it might be important
Yeah.
to keep things pushing. But we're going to take a moment and recap and, figure out what we want to do. There's also a bunch. We're going to be announcing a lot of things. So just stay tuned. If you're not following us, it's at LFOD Radio or LFOD Life on Facebook. We also have a mailing list, which is not a bad time to sign up for as well. You can just get on that by going to lfod.life. I appreciate everyone who's tuned in this season. I appreciate all the artists who have come on. A-Ball, Amanda, Thomas, the record company, Pavement Coffee, all the artists for the first 5 seasons that came on that helped us build to the point where we could reach out to new artists and we still had a positive reputation, and we were still we were learning how to interview. Like A-Ball said, it doesn't happen overnight. So shout out to everybody supporting, everybody that shares stuff. Again, if it's your first time listening, we're on most of the podcast apps. If you can't find us on yours, let us know. Subscribe so when we do pop up, you get it right away. Our YouTube has been pretty good lately. We've been dropping videos of all the road interviews, extra bars, live event footage if you want to relive some things. We have our first live event coming up June 3rd. That'll be at 8 p.m. It's going to be fire. So, just set a reminder. Our calendar, that's a good point. We've still been keeping the calendar going. So if you go to lfod.life/calendar, there's a Google Calendar with all the live events we know about. A lot of folks are going live, so you can tune into those. And artists, managers, if you want to build with us, it's just lfod.life/submissions. lfod.life/submissions. Send us whatever. Send us a video, send us audio, send us a photo, whatever we can share, whatever we can turn up the volume on. Like, we're really here for that. So, use us. We're here for you. And it's going to be cool if things go how I think they're going to go over the summer. We're going to be able to announce some new ways where we'll be able to really help push things even further. So good times ahead. I'm looking at this. It's scary right now for sure, but I'm looking at it as a time where we can maybe shape our future differently.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, definitely take a moment, look at, picture it. It'll be good.
Yeah. So thank you, A-Ball. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sam.
And you've been tuned into LFOD Radio. We'll be back.